Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final part of our virtual event, Demystifying Modern PLM. If you made it to our other sessions, then we're glad to have you back. And if this is your first live session that you've been able to attend, then welcome. This event is co-hosted by Share PLM and OpenBOM. I'm Heather Long, and I'm from Share PLM, and I'm your host. I'm going to do a quick introduction and then we will get into the presentation. As always, at the end of the session, we will have time for a Q&A. So to ask your questions, you can open the Q&A panel at the bottom toolbar of this webinar. And then we will answer all of those questions at the end. If you missed any of the other live sessions of this event, you can find the recordings on our YouTube channels. In this event, Demystifying Modern PLM, Oleg Shilovitsky, the co-founder of OpenBOM, a leading SaaS digital network-based global platform, and Elena Gutierrez, who is the co-founder of Share PLM, a leading education technology company, are going to focus on sharing their knowledge and experience of developing modern PLM systems. In this session, we are going to discuss education, bringing your people on board and reaping the benefits of PLM. So in this presentation, Elena will unpack the knowledge that she's acquired from working on dozens of cloud PLM implementation projects over the last decade. She's going to give you some practical tips that can help you plan and improve your PLM system adoption, and finally bring your people on board. So without further ado, I'm going to let Elena start this great presentation that we've prepared for you today. Elena, whenever you're ready.
Yes, hola a todos. Thank you, Heather, for the introduction. For the ones that still don't know me, my name is Elena Gutierrez, and I'm the co-founder of Share PLM. And I'm very excited about this session. I'm also a little bit nervous because until now I was only asking questions, and now I get to answer questions. But I hope everything will go right. So yeah, I will let Oleg introduce himself and start with the questions.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. And my name is Oleg Shilovitsky. I'm CEO and co-founder of OpenBOM. I'm very excited to be here, and this time in the position of person who will be asking questions. And let's start from the first question. Elena, what is adoption a challenge for PLM?
Yeah, that's a great question, Oleg, and I'd like to steal one of your slides from the sales webinar. Do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, let's imagine that you've installed this presentation that the sales guy from the PLM system showed you, the dream, and everyone's very excited to reap on the benefits of this presentation and the business case, greater transparency, a single source of truth, traceability, access to the digital thread, digital twin, you name it. Fast forward 1 year and you are still struggling to get your people on board. Users hate the system and they do anything they can to stay outside of it. The system is live, it's a Ferrari, but no one can drive it. So what happened? The new PLM system was supposed to solve all these problems and make your job easier, right? The change that the PLM system brings into an organization has always been very difficult, and there's no shortage of research that the majority of PLM initiatives continue to fail. And I see three main challenges for PLM adoption. The first is context. And by context, I mean answering the question, how do I map the reality of my organization to the processes and the data in this that I need to bring to this system? Because each company has different products, processes, and system architecture. And in my experience, out-of-the-box PLM systems won't fit your processes and your data. So you need to do the work, and you will need to map your processes and your data to the new system. The second challenge I see is complexity, because product data is spread across many systems. CAD, CRM, ERP, many systems, and many different departments work with that data. And everyone likes to stay in their little silo. And now you have this system that covers the whole life cycle. And you need to get people to collaborate and get outside of your tools of comfort. So it's quite easy to get overwhelmed by this complexity. And if you don't have a good plan to eat the elephant, you won't get anywhere. And the third challenge I see is people, and we've talked a lot about this in the previous webinars. And change is hard, and PLM is a big change. So to make change happen, you need to generate the ownership and the energy and execute the plan, and also to change the plan on the flight, because there will be many surprises.
Yeah, I have one question about this one. So, what I really like is that you need to have a plan, because just by bringing system in a place you won't solve the problem. So if you have any tips on how to make people to develop this plan,
yes,
maybe it's future in your presentation, but it's
future in the presentation, but we can discuss this now. From my experience, what helps a lot is to focus on a particular use case and really try to get it into the system. The tool is so helpful in my experience. When you are working with the tool and you need to face a particular challenge and go there and solve the use case end to end, that's where you are going to really face these definitions and need to map your data and your processes to the new tool. So my recommendation is action. Go to the tool and do things.
It's very resonating with our experience. We always say you start using tool, experiment with tool, and that will give you the power and understand what to do next.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move to the next question. So the change, you said the change is hard. So how company can approach the change in the modern way? So how to deal with changes?
Yes, I think the first, although I could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to give you seven practical steps for modern change enablement. And the first step is to start with who, and also start with why. And I know this is not new, but in practice we find that many organizations falsely assume that the why is clear, and they don't spend enough time communicating the change imperative. And people long to belong, and they want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And you need to take the time to understand who is part of the transformation and what's in it for them. Because believing in that why that you are manufacturing, that's going to inspire people to change their behavior and to actually use the tools. So before you hit the road, you need to spend enough time planning and thinking about the why and the change imperative. The next is context again, and this is very important. You need to spend enough time understanding your business culture and looking at investigating how the previous change initiatives went. This is going to be very helpful when you are developing your strategy. You need to ask inside your organization, if you, for example, had a deployment of another system, how did that go and what was the response? That's going to help a lot to plan and to understand how your company operates. The next is focus on quick wins. So now you have the foundations in place and your North Star. And the next step is really to find the quick wins, the projects where you can show progress and help people feel the movement, because these projects are very long and energy consuming, and people need to see progress. So really focus on finding quick wins. That's very, very important, because PLM is a big elephant and it's very easy to get stuck. So you want to select projects with clear outputs. And it will happen for sure that many of the definitions are missing, that many of the process mappings are missing. But you need to focus on the end result and work on the definitions along the way, and that's going to help you move forward. The next tip is end-to-end. And by end-to-end, I mean to start with small things, small projects, and see how things are working. Because when you are working on a information flow that goes end-to-end, and people see the result, they are going to get excited, and they are going to see something. So don't try to climb all these mountains at the same time. Take one, focus on that one, and when you are up, then you can go to the next one, and do it end-to-end so that you can show an output. The next is pilot projects and start small and scale. And this is going to help you build the solution and the process, because you'll develop ownership along the way, because the people who are part of these small projects, they're going to feel part of it. It's going to be their baby, and they'll become champions. So if things go well, you'll be able to create case studies, and that's going to help you a lot to move things forward in the rest of the organization. And once you have a clarity about how things work, then you are ready to scale, and you have a blueprint. You still will need to change things, but testing ideas and learning from failures and scaling up successes quickly it's a great approach, because it limits damage and it provides a lot of valuable lessons. And the last one, well, it's not maybe a step, but it's something that for me it's very important. I'd like to highlight it here because I see this still a lot. Do we have budget restrictions? We cut training. Do we need money for a new system? We cut support. And if you are serious about PLM, you need to invest in your people. And that means making sure you spend your money and your energy and your time in enabling change and upskilling your people. So yeah, that's it.
I have a question about this. You mentioned that you need to find and build wins and create the championship. At the same time, many things in organizations are managed top down. Management can make a decision. So the question that I have is, from your experience, what is the right way to balance between top-down methods when, okay, management saying, now that's your PLM, please manage it, and between bottom-up process in which you will grow through the championship and you grow through the people that found the tool and championing this tool. So especially now, since the systems are freely available, and we discussed it before. So what is the right way from your experience to manage these two approaches?
This is a great point, and this is something that's really changing. That before it was you needed to have this sponsorship from management to actually be able to do something at all. And now it's we see many companies doing tests, because these systems you can just like OpenBOM, so you go there and you can try it, and you can showcase progress with quick wins by just using these tools, trying it out, seeing how it helps you, and then with that go to the broader organization and showcase what you have done, and even go to management and say, hey, look, we have made it work for us. Why don't we try it for the rest of the organization? And this is powerful.
Okay, so let's move to the next question. The PLM is a journey. I've heard it many times. So how to plan for this trip?
That's a very good question, and I have a slide from our way of working at Share PLM, and I recommend that you start with an assessment. You try to understand where you are at the moment and what are your issues, what are the things you are trying to solve. Once you are clear on that, you need to develop this storyline, this vision, this what's in it for me, what we described, and you need to plan a strategy. How do you come there from where you are at the moment? And then once you have that clear, I think it's very good to work in an agile way and do what we call change management sprints, which is short initiatives where you focus on something very concrete and try to showcase progress with something very concrete. And these change management sprints can be everything from improving your onboarding process to work on an end-to-end process and show how the whole flow works end-to-end. To work on communication. Maybe you have had a pilot project that's been amazing, and now you need to go out and go to the broader organization and show what you have done. And maybe you want to structure your content in a better way and make it available so you build your knowledge base. And of course, training and upskilling and documentation. That's very good because it's very concrete and you get results in a short amount of time. So you see progress, and we are trying really to see the progress on what we do so that people feel motivated. And then when everything is fine, which in my opinion, it doesn't happen so often, but you enter into this maintaining mode where you just take care of the things that you have developed. And as things change all the time, you need to make updates and you always need to have an eye on your change management strategy and on your documentation.
Yes, this is a very interesting slide. So what I'm looking in this slide is how to answer on the question how to help organization to plan these steps, because one of the things that I've learned is that PLM is never ending journey. So it's not from point A to point B. It's like from point A and forever in the journey. So what methods or approaches you found useful to help people to split this journey in the right cycles, in the right steps? Because everyone is trying to do, like, we want to do everything.
Yes, so that's why I think this assessment phase is so important, because you need to understand where you are and what's for your organization important. You need to evaluate what's your priority and where can you get the quicker wins. I think answering that question, what are your quicker wins? Where can you see quicker results? That's a very good criteria when selecting.
Okay, all right. So let's move to the next question. We've been talking over the course of the last 3 webinars that the modern is different. So what is different in the modern learning tools and everything else?
Yes. The first thing is that I think nowadays it's a must that's online and it's accessible. So people need to have access to the learning resources 24/7. I think that this after COVID is quite accepted, but I still see many companies building knowledge bases, building storage where people can actually find the resources 24/7. So they can have access to education whenever they want. That's the first characteristic. The second characteristic is that it provides quick answers. And this is very important. When people have a question nowadays, they are going to go to Google or they are going to go to your company's intranet and they want to find quick answers to your question. In this video, I'm just, I took it before the webinar. I'm looking for a question I have and I put it to Google and I find it in your knowledge base. And I think that's very important. You need to give quick answers because people will have them, and if they don't find them, they will get frustrated. The next one is that it's well structured, and this is for me game changing. When you have your processes and you are able to visualize how you are working with your product data end to end, that's providing a very good big picture and a good framework to your users to understand where they are and what's the connection between all the moving pieces. And I've seen these kind of charts where you really look into how product data flows from end to end. This is really game changing because it gives an overview of how the data is flowing from the beginning to the end, and gives a very good overview that's well structured, and it provides a mental model. And it helps a lot to break complexity. The next is that it's interactive, and I think that's modern, and it's a must nowadays. People need to interact with the content. They need to be able to click and see different experiences depending on who they are. This is an example from your data management course that I took, and you can see you can click around, you can take questions, you can discover the content by yourself. And the last one, but for me it's also very, very important, is that it looks good. Your learning materials need to look good. You need to really, when you get the materials, you need to be willing to read it because it looks good and you are willing to take that in, right? It's like when you are buying an Apple product, you get it very nice packed, and it's like the whole experience that you are getting around that product. And it's the same with learning. It must be an experience, and people must have a pleasant experience when they are learning. So that's the last one, and for me also a very important one.
Yes, it's a great, I think it's a great perspective on how tools are changing, and I completely agree with you. The modern tools are much better and provide great capabilities like interactive and ability to search and everything. However, I have one question that we struggle, and I've been talking to many people, and I got a pretty consistent answer about this. And it's very simple. Nobody wants to read anything, and people want to just start using things. And as much as we are unhappy with this, we accept it as a challenge, as an existing condition. So it's so easy to start clicking and not to read and not to explore this material. So what, from your experience, can bring people to these materials back when they have a question? So what the process that can help them to do it? Because initially everyone just do not read anything. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think the first thing you need to consider is there will be a point when they are going to need help. And you need to make your content discoverable so that at this point, when they need help, they find these very amazing materials and they are so willing to read it that at least at that point, they will go through the thing because they will get hooked. That's one. And the second is communication. That's also very important because I see so many companies, they have a lot of materials, but their people, they don't know where these materials are. Are they hidden? Are they somewhere in a drive? You need to really communicate what you have and make a bit of marketing, let's say so, of these materials too.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great observation. Making materials available. As much as simple it sounds, I found that sometimes it's very hard to find. So let me ask you, how did you see a future of adoption? Like we've seen a lot of differences that come in with the modern cloud tools. So what are other trends that you see in adoption of PLM software?
Yes, that's a very good question. And I'm going to share from my personal perspective what are the trends. Maybe there are others, but this is how I see it. The first is that change enablement is actually getting a front seat at management. And I see that it's getting more and more weight in PLM initiatives. I guess organizations are realizing that no matter how much money they spend in technology, if they don't get the human side of the change right, they won't reap the benefits of the investment. Traditionally, companies rolling out PLM systems, they didn't think enough of the people side, and they just got the systems, they just got the data integrations and so on, but they didn't plan enough the people side. And then we have these issues, right? But I see that many companies are approaching, for example, our company, who is focused on adoption and change management, because they realize that it's a very important part and it needs to be planned as much as a technology, at least. And that's a positive trend I see. The second one is education, quick access to self-education. And we've talked about this also in some of the previous webinars. You need to offer quick answers to your people. And if you want them to stay on board, you need to give them resources to self-educate themselves. Because if you have a question, you are going to first Google it or try to find it, and if you don't get it, you will get frustrated. So you need to build your own little Google if you are in a corporation, or if you are outside like OpenBOM, you need to build your own knowledge base, your own content hub, so that people can find big answers to questions that they have. And also, it also means creating content, education content, and caring about those assets, really taking care of them, because it's important and people want to learn, people want to keep upskilling, and you need to invest here. The next is experience, and I think we have talked a lot about this in some of the previous webinars too. And that's always very clever to name their solutions after the 3D experience, because today it's really all about the experience, and people want to experience a system. They want to touch it, they want to feel it. And we've talked about the role of triads in the previous webinars, and I see that people want to self-explore. Do they feel at home in the system? Is it easy to find the living room? Or how can I get back to the entry room? They want to touch themselves, and they really want to find their way. So experience is very, very important, and you need to give people access to this experience. And this means, in practice, for example, you can create a data set, demo product that people can explore, so that they see how things look. They can imagine how it will look like when they have done the progress. And I think it's important to put effort here, facilitate, enable the experience of the system. The next is sharing, and sharing is, I don't mean sharing as sharing data, I mean more as sharing learning. People want to share the learning journey. They want to share experiences, how they are feeling, what they have learned, what they have discovered. And you need to also enable that sharing. And you can do it with communities, with events where people get together. But I see that this is very, very important also today. And the last is purpose, and this is also not new, but I think it's getting more and more important with millennials and the new generation. People want to see the why behind, and they want to have a North Star that guides them. If you just focus on very too much concrete stuff and you don't give them a perspective, you are not going to get them on board. So for me, it's very important to work on the why and have a purpose. And this should be really the first step. Before anything else, work on this. It doesn't need to take months. You can do this really in days or weeks, and it's going to be game-changing.
I have a question about sharing. So, like I think agree that sharing is important, and the element of sharing can also impact other people's decisions. What do you see in the PLM adoption is driving this sharing capability? And I would like to pick on some comparison maybe. Very often PLM is compared with ERP, although the systems are completely different and served differently. But in the past, it was very often the situation when somebody was meeting people, and you can see the person is running a successful company, successful business, and then you ask, how do you do that? And then the answer, we run this X successful ERP system. So if you will run this system, you will be as successful as me. You can think about this. So, and we see the billboards and everyone, like this system is run by this successful ERP company. So is it something similar happening from your experience with the PLM? Are those people that doing successful PLM implementations are willing to share, a company are willing to share, or it is completely kind of everyone is on its own and the PLM company should share what they do? So how do you see this trend? Can it become social or not?
I think so, and you've in your presentation you talk about social proof, And this is something I see a lot as well. People want to inform themselves before they get to do something, and they research online, and information is nowadays there, so people can find data, people can find stories, and that's very inspiring for companies. They want to find inspiration, they want to find peers that have gone through the journey, and that's a very valuable thing for companies.
Okay, thank you. That was very interesting.
Yes. Okay, so I think we are ready for questions, Heather.
All right, we have a question here. In some cases, breaking down barriers between silos might need some additional work from one silo to enable the second silo to work in a planned way. So how do you motivate the first silo to do the required additional work, which might not give any additional value to that silo? It's a good question.
That's a very good question. Very, very good question. I think that something that helps is to show the silo that doesn't want to move why they should actually move. So getting everyone together in a room and showing why, putting that data into the system that maybe it takes them 10 minutes longer, how much easier it's going to make life of this other silo or this other group of people, let's call it so. That's powerful because people see that, okay, for me, it's like 5 minutes or half an hour, but it's going to be days or weeks for these people. I give you a very concrete example. A company selling equipment, they need to get their engineers to put in spare part information into their PLM system so that their service department can actually service the equipment. And that's for the engineering, it's not a big task. They just need to get there and they know their data. They just need to spend some time typing in the information. If they don't do it, the service department, they need to hunt for that information. They need to go to maybe some engineering systems and try to get it there. And that's they maybe don't have access to those systems. So it's really, really complex for them and it will take them ages. So getting these two groups of people together in a room and showing, hey, if you don't put this information here, for us, it's taking so much time to hunt for these drawings, to hunt for this information. And for you, it's just 10 minutes, but for me, it makes my life much more complex. So that's a tip. And the second tip is sometimes you need management support. So you need to go one level up and explain the case, what's in it, and you need that support in some cases.
Okay. That was the only question that we have. So does anyone else have any other questions?
I do have one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me put the perspective that the industry is coming. We've heard it quite a lot. So there are best practices. So in many companies we hear there are best practices. So in general, this is a good thing, but every company believes that they are unique and their uniqueness is their advantage and the competitiveness in this uniqueness. So do you see a challenge from a company standpoint to share what they do from the perspective that the sharing will be, again, work against them? Because in general, if they have something well organized, what is the reason for them to share it with their competitors? They should actually hide it and say, like, we don't tell anyone. We get this way to do things better than everyone else. So let's stay competitive and do not share it. So how do you see this? If it's for real, if it's really happening, and maybe different company sizes and different industries. So how do you see this willingness of companies to share?
I don't think that happens nowadays so much because people want to share, and often when they do something right, they are very proud of what they have done. So they want to get the word out. And you see, we've been to many conferences together where people are presenting all the great stuff that they have done, I think that in general, there are some exceptions, of course, but I see that companies are willing to share and willing to, if they have done something great, to showcase what they have done.
I want to maybe go on a little bit more deeper on the same topic. And I experienced this thing in the past, although we never experienced this problem with OpenBOM customers, but I experienced this thing in the past where a company is bringing the system, the PLM system on board, and they discover how bad they've been doing it before. And then they have a challenge to share, because they, in order to share the improvement, they need also to share how bad it was before. Do you see such challenges are happening in examples of companies that doing these improvements and embarking on PLM and then cannot share what they did?
I don't see it at the moment, because if that happens, usually the person is gone. And this happens a lot. I see it a lot. There is a program, you bought this very expensive Ferrari system, you try to get it right, it doesn't work. In 2 years, this person is not anymore in the company. So the new person comes in, everything is shit, everything is very bad, and the new person doesn't feel responsible for what the previous person did. And I see this rotation a lot in many projects, especially the ones that are not functioning very well. So I haven't seen, people usually think it's not their fault, it's someone else's fault.
Okay, so it gives a lot of hope. At least I'm hearing it from you now. That it gives a lot of optimism in this. So
Right.
Okay, thank you.
We have another question here. It's got multiple parts. So, besides what has already been mentioned, how does Elena or Share PLM rank PLM software apps? Do you group them according to industries they serve, size of the business, or type of products? Or do you think that would help companies help them choose a particular one among other PLMs?
No, that's a very, very tricky question and a very good question. I think it depends really on the industry. You are absolutely right. So there are some tools that work better for some of the industries. And I think it really needs to start from the company's current assessment and what's the situation, what they are looking for. It might be that the tool, it depends really a lot on what they are trying to get out of the tool. So depending on this assessment, you can make more precise recommendations of the type of software that you are going to use.
Okay. Anyone else have any more questions? There's also a comment that says that Elena's from Madrid. Actually, Elena's not from Madrid, though.
No, I'm from Bilbao, from the north of Spain.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful part of Spain, if you haven't been there. And nowadays, I am living in Germany.
Yeah, you said reminds me of Mercado San Miguel.
That's very cool. I've been there. All right.
All right. I don't know if anyone else has any questions.
I think we're done.
All right.
Thank you, Helena.
Yes,
Well, thank you, everyone.
If you have any more questions, ping me on LinkedIn or in the website, and I'm happy to chat and discuss about this stuff. It's exciting for me, and I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming. We will email out the recording to this session later, or you can find it on YouTube as well.
Thank you, Oleg. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you, guys.
thank you,
We will
Helena.
update
Thank you,
people
Heather. Thanks,
on
everyone.
future events as well.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Bye.